As Tottenham's season rages on and the roller coaster of Spurs goes up and down, we all have to remember that the January transfer window is on the horizon. Spurs famously don't tend to do too much business, but sometimes can pull the rabbit out of the hat in the January transfer window. So today on the Sonny Talks Spurs YouTube channel, I'm going to pluck out some of the biggest and best transfer rumours, react to them, give my thoughts and see if they can improve Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur side. But before I get into this, if you are new to the Sonny Talks Spurs YouTube channel, then drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and leave your comment down below. Who do you want us to sign in January? So yeah, I thought I'd bring a little bit of a different video today. So if you are enjoying it, as I said, like and comment on who you want us to sign. But let's get into the first player. Now, I've plucked a few that I've seen on Twitter over the last couple of weeks. Some are obviously could happen. Some of them maybe not. Some of them are quite like, intriguing. I wonder how that would work out. But as we know, at this stage ahead of January, some of the names are going to be a bit silly and there's not a lot of concrete information because obviously the season's still going on. We're at about the halfway stage, aren't we? So let's get into that first name. And weirdly, the first name's Harry Winks. So a tweet appeared saying that Tottenham are interested in re-signing Harry Winks in January and are ready to offer 38 million euros to bring him back to the club. Why? What's the point? I don't really understand it. Obviously, this news also came after the news that Rodrigo Bentancur would face a 7-match ban for obviously the incident involving Son Heung-min and the racism and all that. So this, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, and the source is really not concrete, is it? It's a source that I think it actually appears a couple of times in these transfer rumours, and I don't think this will happen whatsoever. We obviously sold him as part of the James Maddison deal. James Maddison we bought for £40 million. We sold Leicester Harry Winks for 10 and, gave us a 30 million deficit. So it makes you think that why would we buy him back for this fee? I know 38 million euros is not obviously in the pounds, but it would be about, what would that be? About 35, something like that. And I just think it's just not going to happen. We are not that desperate for homegrown quota at the moment. We could probably do with another English player, but we bought in Archie Gray and Dominic Solanke, and we've got some youth players to fill that gap. So I don't understand this. He's not a midfielder we need. We need a 6. Obviously, that's more understandable. Harry Winks never really got on leaps and bounds when he was at Spurs, so I don't quite understand this move. I don't think it will happen. I was just surprised when I saw it. If I was to rate this move, I might do this actually. I'm going to rate these moves out of 10 of how much I would want them to happen and how much I think they're going to happen. So we'll combine those and give it a score. And I'd probably give this a 3. It'd be nice, Harry Winks. I love him as a person. He's just not a very good player, is he? What you realise as I go through this list is we're being linked to a similar sort of position. But before I get into that position, we are actually being linked with a few defenders, which is quite interesting. Obviously, we know we have Mickey van der Ven, who hopefully should come back from injury soon. We have Christian Romero, who's been a bit injured at the moment as well. We've got Ben Davis, who plays centre-back, and Radu Dragusin. But we've been linked with a couple of other centre-backs. And first of all, we have Jonathan Tah from Bayer Leverkusen, obviously 28 years old. Tweet read, Tottenham are in talks internally over a deal for Jonathan Tah on a free transfer. The defender's contract is running out at the end of the campaign and clubs outside of Germany are able to discuss a pre-contract from January. So obviously this wouldn't obviously happen straight away, but 28 years old, good defender, went unbeaten obviously in the league last year. They only lost obviously the Europa League final. I wouldn't mind this, but I do think maybe, would he go in as the starter? Possibly, but for who? I mean, I guess he'd probably go over Mickey van der Ven, but then what happens with Christian Romero? I'm not sure if it would happen. I saw him linked with a move to Bayern, but obviously this pre-contract agreement is for clubs outside of Germany. So, I mean, I'd like to see it happen. I'd give it a 6 or a 7, but I don't think it's going to happen, is it? I can't see it happening. And then the other defender who has been linked is Illia Zabarnyi from Bournemouth. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And it says Tottenham Hotspur are ready to battle Chelsea for the signing of Bournemouth star Illia Zabarnyi. Bournemouth will sell Zabarnyi if a bid worth 30 million comes in, which will put Spurs on alert. Now this one, I think Zabarnyi's been good for Iriola's Bournemouth side when I've watched them. You know, some people think Bournemouth could be a frail team going into this campaign, but they've got a lot of good players on their books now. And I think Zabarnyi is part of why their defence has been quite good with Senesi, obviously, as well. But for 50 million, for an option that, would he go in as a starter? I'm not so sure. If we could get him for cheaper and he could eventually be a starter, I like that move. But at the moment, I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to give that 4 or 5 because I just don't think we can warrant paying 50 million for a player who's obviously been at Bournemouth. This is his second campaign now, but I don't think that's a strong enough outlay for a player who doesn't necessarily start. Now, there's no actual sixes on this list when I was having a search for transfer rumours. It's actually a lot of wingers. And we can understand why Spurs want a winger, because at the moment we've got the likes of Brennan Johnson. Timo Werner's future looks like it will be cut short. But we also have Yang to come in. Apparently he will be coming in January. We've got Mikey Moore, Son, obviously. But midfield come wingers is a lot of what we're being linked with. You know, they can play the 10, they could play an 8, but they could also play mainly on the wing. And to start off, we have Jamie Bynoe-Gittens from Borussia Dortmund. Now, I like the idea of this, the Englishman coming to Spurs. The tweet read, Tottenham Hotspur monitoring a sensational move for Jamie Bynoe-Gittens, who is understood internally to fit the profile winger Spurs are looking for. Bynoe-Gittens is catching the eye of many top clubs. And, you know, he's looked really good, hasn't he, in the Champions League this year. He is probably going to be Dortmund's next big player to sell after Jadon Sancho, Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham. I've seen reports of about 50 million for him as well. And, you know, he's only 20 years old. The world's his oyster, really. And he has looked impressive, especially on the Champions League stage. I just can't see Tottenham signing him. It's one of those ones where it sounds good and you're like, wow. But I just can't see it happening. And, you know, if we want to go to that next level, we have to sign these players for £50 million and just put the money on the table. But Tottenham aren't going to do it. And if I was to give this a mark, I'd give it a 7. But I can't see it happening. He's the winger where I'm like, love it. But it's one of those where I just, as I say, I can't see it happening. Love to see it because obviously he's English, good for the homegrown quota and all that stuff as well. But he's going to have the pick of the clubs. I could imagine him at like an Arsenal or a Chelsea or something like that. But yeah, I like it. I'm glad we're being linked to him. So it shows that maybe the club are looking in the right direction on profile player. Because what I've been seeing, and I said this on my recent video about Son, is we need a certain winger who's going to, you know, proper drag fullbacks out, cut in a little bit, go to the byline, ping crosses across for Dominic Solanke or James Maddison, whoever's on the edge of the area as well. And Gittens is that sort of player, tricky winger. But as I say, I'm not sure about this one. Now, another winger that I like the sound of who we're being linked to is Facundo Buonanotte. That's good pronunciation. From, obviously, he's at Leicester at the moment on loan from Brighton. But tweet read about the 19-year-old winger. Just in, Tottenham have identified Brighton Hove Albion attacking midfielder Facundo Buonanotte as a potential direct replacement for James Maddison due to his inconsistent form since joining Spurs. Now, this is again like Jamie Bynoe-Gittens. Sounds amazing. Sounds really good. He scored a banger this season as well. But it's not going to happen, is it? Again, this is a Brighton player. Like it sounds like I'm repeating my exact same point I've just made. Brighton sell their players for top dollar. They will not let him go. They put him out on loan, haven't they, to Leicester for a reason. They want to develop him. And maybe he starts in the first team eventually. But Brighton don't sell for cheap. They'll want a heavy 50 million fee for him. And he's shown his credentials at Leicester. He looks really, really good and really, really tricky. But it's another one. I'd love it to happen. I'd give it a 7, but it's just not going to happen. And, you know, we're really fond, aren't we, at Spurs for an Argentinian. But it's not going to happen, is it? Such a shame, but I'd love it. Now, this is a transfer that I like the sound of. Another winger, obviously. Most of the final players are wingers, forwards. And, you know, this is a player where I think he had a lot of potential. He has still got a lot of potential. I mean, he's only 23 years old. But obviously he was part of, when Real Madrid were plucking the, players out of different parts of the globe to see if they could be the next superstar. He didn't really make it at Real Madrid, but we've seen players like Martin Odegaard didn't make it at Real Madrid, and they've gone on leaps and bounds at other clubs. But obviously, and actually, before I get into this player, this is the first of one former Real Madrid player and 2 current Real Madrid players who are being linked with Spurs. But the first one is Takefusa Kubo. Now, when that name comes to mind, everyone thinks, wonder kid. I mean, he's still, as I say, only 23 years old. And the tweet read, Tottenham Hotspur are plotting a move for Real Sociedad star Takefusa Kubo in 2025. The former Real Madrid star is also on Liverpool's radar. The 23-year-old Japan international has a 50 million release clause. Now, a lot of these players seem to have that sort of 50 million release clause. He scored 3 goals this season as well, looking quite good. Sociedad are not a bad side in La Liga. They always have a player who comes through and sort of is the shining light in their side, in their team. Obviously, they rejected the advances of Liverpool for Zubimendi in the summer. So they're not. They don't muck around. They know when they want a certain fee for their player. But I like the idea of this. I think he'd be a good winger, a perfect winger for Ange Postecoglou. Obviously, Ange has worked in Japanese football as well, so he will probably have known Kubo when he was coming through the system, when he was at Yokohama F. Marinos. Obviously, I'm not saying he was at Yokohama F. Marinos, but, he would have an eye on Japanese football. So I like the idea of this one. I'd give it an 8 or a 9 because I'd like to see it happen. I think it'd be a good acquisition and a bit of a statement signing, actually, to go and pick up a player who's still young, who's still got all the potential, and I think would be a really, really good asset to Spurs. I really like this one. Now, the next 2, I think these are wishful. I don't think they're going to happen, but I like the fact we're being linked with them. Obviously, I might as well list them both at the same time. One is Endrick from Real Madrid, and the other is Arda Güler from Real Madrid. They're obviously not getting a lot of game time because Real Madrid's front 3 is Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo. So they're probably looking for some game time. And, Real Madrid don't always tend to loan out players all the time to clubs in Europe. They usually want to keep them close, or they might sell and have them as a buyback clause. But the 2 tweets read this. One said about Endrick, Tottenham and Juventus are keeping tabs on Endrick at Real Madrid. The Brazilian might be loaned out in January for more game time. And then the other one, Tottenham Hotspur were previously linked with Real Madrid midfielder Arda Güler, and has been claimed that the teenager is unhappy after struggling to become a regular for Carlo Ancelotti's team. Now, Endrick can be more of a versatile forward. Güler plays midfield / winger as well. So, I don't know if this is a good signing, in the sense of, if they were permanent, you'd be all for it. But are they good short-term loans? Maybe. They're better than what we've got currently. Timo Werner maybe would, but give the players like Brennan Johnson a bit of a kick up the backside to improve. So it's one of those ones where I like the idea of it. It's a bit of a statement signing, even if it is a loan. But I'm not quite sure. If they were permanents, I'd give them 10s and 9s. But at the moment, I don't think they're going to happen, are they, really? But I'd probably give it about a 6. Yeah, about something like that. And finally, now this is the piece de resistance, the banker, the one that could happen, the one that probably won't happen. But I like the idea of it, that Tottenham are interested in signing Man City's Jack Grealish. Now, it's from the Football Insider. We all know Jack Grealish isn't happy. He even tweeted or wrote on social media after the latest England camp that he was happy to be back in the England squad. He loves being in and around the England setup. He loved playing under Lee Carsley. He probably will look forward to playing under Thomas Tuchel. But he didn't like playing under Gareth Southgate because Gareth Southgate snubbed him for the latest Euros. But, Jack Grealish, 29 years old, but he's not in Pep Guardiola's plans, it would seem. Good winger for Spurs. When he was at Villa, he was more willing to go at people. Pep's made him a bit more regimented. But I think it's the sort of player where Ange would like him. I think he is a perfect Ange Postecoglou winger. He keeps the ball, he retains it well, he can dribble. He's got an eye for goal and an assist. I like it, but I'm wondering what the fee would be. I'm wondering what his wages are. And, he could leave City, but, he knows where his bread's buttered there. it's just City are in a weird vein of form at the moment, aren't they? I mean, we're playing them this weekend, but I can't see it happening, but I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see Jack Grealish in the white of Tottenham Hotspur. I'd give it a 9, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's a shame because most of these probably won't happen, but I like to get the juices flowing with some transfer rumours. But you're going to have to let me know in the comments down below. Which ones do you think are going to happen? Which ones do you not think are going to happen? Put your list and put your scores next to them like I did as well. And if you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment section down below and notification bell. Until then, I'll see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.